So they've announced this White House UFC fight. Can we expect to see you on the card?
Yeah, I can't promise anyone anything, but I have a very strong feeling that I'll reach on that card. Story.
So who would you take on? Who would be your dream opponent?
I would want to take a Marcus holding the year.
Any possible names you think?
Well, I mean, as of right now, the champion is Tom Aspinall, but we'll see who's the champion at the end of the year. The only thing
Jon Jones. Prime versus Prime.
Prime, I'll go Jon Jones.
Really?
So, yeah, 100%.
You won't even give Tom a go?
No. Like I said, I rate Jon Jones highly. I believe that he's the best to ever do it. And Tom is for now, he's the guy now, you know what I mean?
But if they would have fought, then do you think that Tom had a strong chance because of the timing?
Yeah.
And fighting's always about timing. Boxing,
100%. I think for the speed, the power.
Jon Jones has broken his silence regarding a potential fight with Tom Aspinall next year, all but confirming his preparation for a return to the Octagon, this time for what could be the most politically and culturally significant UFC event in history. Following months of silence and a formal retirement announcement, Jones has revealed that he is targeting the highly anticipated White House event scheduled for July 4, 2026, a UFC card set to take place on the actual grounds of the White House as part of America's 250th birthday celebration. The event was made public by former U.S. President Donald Trump earlier this month, and UFC President Dana White has enthusiastically backed the plan, locking in the date and teasing major names expected to headline. At the heart of it all stands Jon Jones, positioned as the centerpiece of this historic spectacle.
Kyle was asking him what would be his dream card, and he said Jones versus Aspinall, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. He thought that would be the perfect one. And the guy started talking about this, Kyle, me. And Dana goes, the UFC landscape will have changed by then. We got a whole year. Hey, initially we thought this was just a thought. It's not a thought. It ain't a thought. When Dana starts saying stuff like
At UFC Baku, Dana White confirmed that Jon Jones had officially informed the organization of his retirement, calling it definitive and declaring that Tom Aspinall would be elevated to full undisputed heavyweight champion after nearly 600 days. As interim title holder, an official changing of the guard in the eyes of the UFC, however. Behind the scenes, that retirement was never meant to last. Everything shifted after Donald Trump announced plans for a UFC event at the White House, just 2 weeks after White's statement and what appeared to be Jones's farewell message to fans. He quietly re-entered the USADA testing pool, a mandatory step for any fighter planning a return. That single move reignited speculation and discussions about a potential clash with Aspinall. Now, it's clear Jon Jones is coming back, and he's aiming to reclaim the heavyweight title on what could be the most watched stage in UFC history.
One-shot knockout power. I believe that would make Tom Aspinall hesitate a little bit. And look, Tom would be the favorite in that fight. But if you don't think Derek Lewis has a shot to shut Tom Aspinall's lights out and steal that belt, not only be the knockout king, but add undisputed heavyweight world champion to his list, there's nothing more he needs. That would be the absolute fight to make for Tom Aspinall while he waits for the UFC White House card and hopefully gets Jon Jones after that. Now, again, it's easier to talk about getting a fight with Derek Lewis than it is to actually win
In a recent TikTok conversation with The Joy of Everything, Jon Jones made it clear that while nothing has been officially signed, his intention to return is serious. He admitted he couldn't make any promises, but said he has a strong feeling he'll be part of the historic 2026 White House UFC card. True to form, Jones didn't just speak of a regular comeback, he framed the event in historic terms, comparing it to Muhammad Ali's iconic bouts like the Thriller in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle, even suggesting that the event could surpass them in global significance. Acknowledging Tom Aspinall as the current champion, Jones said that if Aspinall still holds the belt by year's end, that's the fight he wants. He also emphasized the patriotic symbolism of the moment, saying that an American fighting for a UFC title on the White House lawn during the nation's 250th birthday would be the ultimate moment of his career. Describing himself as ready to risk it all, Jones framed his return not just as an athletic mission, but as a deeply civic one.
Retired. And Jon Jones is going to do that fight.
He went back into the testing pool.
Right.
But Tyler and I debated because he hasn't fought 4 freaking years.
Yeah. I would still pick him over whoever they would
Aspinall's
charge.
been screwed.
Right. Well, Aspinall's
he waits for his
now. Right.
Yeah, he's the champ, but he hasn't.
No, but I would assume that if Aspinall is successful and wins once or twice going into 26, that would be the match.
It's now official. The UFC White House card is locked in for July 4, 2026. The event will be invite-only with no public ticket sales, as confirmed by both Donald Trump and Dana White, set on the south lawn of the White House, a location that has never hosted anything of this magnitude. The symbolism is powerful. An American UFC legend returning to fight in the nation's capital on Independence Day is a narrative that resonates deeply with both the organization and Jon Jones himself. This isn't just another comeback, it's a legacy-defining moment custom-built for Jones. For years, he appeared to avoid a matchup with Tom Aspinall even as the British fighter rose through the ranks and claimed interim gold. Jones dodged questions, sidestepped interviews, and seemed unwilling to engage with the prospect. But the White House event has changed everything. It's no longer about just the opponent, it's about the setting, the moment, and the opportunity to etch his name into history. That, more than anything, appears to be what finally drew Jon Jones back.
You know, you're not going to take this. And do you know what, Jon Jones did? You have it. I don't want to fight. You can have it. This is unbelievable. The greatest of all time. What a load of... I'm sorry. Never going to call that him the GOAT. Ever again. Because being the greatest of all time is not just about winning. And that's what Jon Jones doesn't understand. It's about how you conduct yourself throughout the whole of your career. Are you willing to fight the biggest challenges?
Still, obstacles remain. Earlier this year, Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall were already in advanced talks for a unification bout that came close to being signed. Dana White later revealed that negotiations had been finalized at one point, but Jones unexpectedly pulled out and chose to retire instead, a move that frustrated the UFC and left Aspinall without the high-stakes matchup he had earned. However, once the White House card was officially announced, Jones reversed course and made a direct call to UFC headquarters, expressing renewed interest in fighting. According to reports, that call was the catalyst for his re-entry into the USADA testing pool. Since then, Dana White has made it clear that the UFC is open to whatever Jones wants and fully prepared to revisit the long-awaited showdown with Aspinall at any time.
We don't know if he was serious. Is he serious? Is he not retired anymore? Is he back?
You jump back in the pool, so...
How sick is that for you that now you kind of got this White House event for them, and it's like... I feel like this is what brings...
No matter who popped up or who didn't or whatever, we would have put on an incredible card.
What would be the dream main event?
The dream main event right now would be Aspinall versus Jones.
Is it possible that McGregor and...
Financial demands present another major complication. Jon Jones is notorious for insisting on what he calls foo money when it comes to higher-risk fights. And for a potential bout with Tom Aspinall, his team reportedly requested figures in the $17 to $25 million range. It's still unclear how close the UFC came to meeting those demands during earlier negotiations, but the historic nature of the White House card may give the organization the justification to push higher. With international media coverage, political symbolism, and unprecedented visibility, this event has the potential to generate revenue unlike anything the UFC has seen before. That alone makes it far more likely the UFC will be willing to meet Jones's financial terms and do whatever it takes to make the fight happen.
I'm as big a Jon Jones fan as anybody, and I've always defended he's not afraid of Tom. He's willing to fight anybody. It's hard to not fall into that narrative here, though. You know, like, to me, like, fighting in the White House, like, that doesn't do it. But maybe I'm a different person, you know, maybe everybody looks at it different. For me, like, if you tell me they're going to have a fight at the White House, like, cool, all right, like, it'd be cool to do it. If not, whatever, like, a fight's a fight. Maybe Jon looks at it different.
From Tom Aspinall's side, the situation is equally clear. He has publicly stated that he's more than ready for the fight and made it known that the delay has been entirely on Jon Jones, not him. After being officially named the undisputed heavyweight champion, Aspinall reaffirmed his desire to legitimize the title by defeating Jones in a proper unification bout. With the stakes now elevated by the historic White House event, Aspinall remains the clear target, but the pressure is on him to retain the belt until then. Jones has made it clear he intends to fight whoever holds the title at the end of the year. If Aspinall stumbles in a title defense, Jones could shift his focus to another opponent. But for now, Aspinall is the man in Jones's sights.
The legacy. To be able to go to the heavyweight division, take out everyone, and then take out the Jon Jones legend, you know, and then go back to even beating a few of these new school guys, will literally put Tom Aspinall as the GOAT of the heavyweight division.
Jon Jones has also made it clear that he's training and fully focused on being ready for this historic opportunity, calling the event too important to miss. He's been quietly putting in work at his gym in Albuquerque, steadily building toward a full return. While no official fight deal has been signed yet, insiders report that Jones has ramped up his physical preparation and is closely monitoring the heavyweight division. There's no ambiguity left. He's positioning himself for a July 2026 comeback, and he might not be the only megastar on the card. Conor McGregor is also reportedly being lined up to fight at the White House event, setting the stage for what could be the most star-studded night in UFC
Is there a fighter in MMA or the UFC that you just find absolutely insufferable? Because for me, it's Jon Jones, and there is no close second. Jon Jones defended his heavyweight title against a retired 42-year-old Stipe Miocic back in November. Ever since then, Jon has been saying, what has Tom Aspinall done to deserve to fight me? You know, besides Tom being the interim champ and having a defense with that belt, Jon has just found every possible way to not
fight. Conor McGregor hasn't fought since breaking his leg against Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. Ongoing discussions about his return continue to generate buzz. BKFC President David Feldman recently confirmed that McGregor personally told him he was targeting a UFC comeback in 2025. The Irish superstar has reportedly re-entered the USADA drug testing pool, a mandatory step for any UFC return, but there's a catch. He hasn't recorded a single test so far in 2025. That absence raises serious doubts about how realistic his timeline is and whether he'll be ready in time to join Jon Jones on the White House card. Meanwhile, Jones has gone into detail about his decision to come out of retirement specifically for this event. Speaking on the ESPY's red carpet, he admitted that he had genuinely stepped away from the sport with every intention of being done for good, but the opportunity to fight on such a historically significant stage changed
Jon
everything.
Jones finally wants to fight Tom Aspinall, but this time at the White House. I told you guys that Jon Jones was playing chess, not checkers, this entire time. Someone just tweeted this at Jon Jones saying, ducking Tom Aspinall, ? Best decision you ever made, ? Jon responded, choosing when to attack and where you want the battlefield to be is not ducking, my friend. I tried telling every single one of you that Jon Jones was never ducking Tom Aspinall. Very clear here that Jon Jones is playing chess.
Jon Jones had vacated the UFC heavyweight title and made peace with the idea that he had accomplished everything he needed to in MMA. But the announcement of a UFC event at the White House changed everything. It reframed his perspective, giving him a new reason to fight, one that had nothing to do with titles, money, or traditional legacy. Instead, Jones described his comeback as deeply personal. He explained that Donald Trump's idea to host a UFC card at the White House wasn't just intriguing, it reignited something within him. As a proud American with strong ties to the military community, Jones saw this as an opportunity to represent his country in a way that went beyond sport. He called it an act of service, not in a formal military sense, but through entertainment and powerful symbolism. For him, this comeback isn't about reclaiming a championship, it's about doing something bigger than
I'll just come out and ask you, do you think he's ducking Tom Aspinall?
No. Jon Jones, I said it a million times, I'll say it again, he's never ducked anybody other than that one goofy time with the Chael Sonnen thing. Never ducked anybody, and I think the reality is whatever changed his mind with this fight, I don't know, you'd have to ask him that, but he's 38 years old, and I don't know.
Do you think if it was someone like Alex Pereira, he would fight them? And it's maybe Tom that he specifically doesn't fancy the matchup?
Beneath the patriotic rhetoric lies a strategic layer of business and negotiation that has quietly shaped Jon Jones's path back to the Octagon. Former rival and current UFC commentator Daniel Cormier recently shared his take on the situation, suggesting that the UFC's decision to let Jones face Stipe Miocic instead of unifying the belt with interim champion Tom Aspinall was part of a larger behind-the-scenes deal. According to Cormier, the move made little sense on paper. Typically, the interim champion gets the next shot, but he believes the UFC allowed Jones to take the legacy fight with Miocic in exchange for a verbal commitment to unify the titles afterward. Cormier implied that Jones accepted the Miocic bout with the understanding that an Aspinall fight would follow. However, when that moment came, Jones reportedly demanded an astronomical $30 million purse, perhaps in an effort to price himself out of the fight altogether. Cormier didn't hold back, saying bluntly that Jones needs to step up and take the fight with Aspinall.
No, you're not going to take this. And do you know what Jon Jones did? You have it. I don't want to fight. You can have it. This is unbelievable. Greatest of all time. What a load. I'm sorry. Never going to call that him the GOAT. Ever again. Because being the greatest of all time is not just about winning. And that's what Jon Jones doesn't understand. It's about how you conduct yourself throughout the whole of your career. Are you willing to fight the biggest challenges, biggest tests?
Cormier also raised a broader point about legacy and the lasting impact of broken lineages in the sport. In his view, even though Tom Aspinall has been officially promoted to undisputed champion, his belt still carries an asterisk, a missing chapter that can only be completed by facing Jon Jones. Without that fight, there will always be an unresolved gap in the heavyweight division's history. Cormier drew a parallel to his own career, admitting that despite all his accomplishments, he could never fully be considered the best in his division because he never defeated Jones. That absence, he said, stayed with him even in retirement. The implication was clear. For Aspinall to truly cement his place in UFC history, he needs to beat Jones.
UFC White House is crazy, dude. Crazy, dude. How's that even a thing? Is that allowed? Like, how is Donald even allowed to do that? It's kind of gangster. Chandler versus McGregor, kind of gangster. Aspinall, Jon Jones wants to fight on it. Classic. Back in the testing pool after 2 weeks. Bro is a troll and a half. He's not having his title back. It just can't be happening. All the ground trip.
Cormier cautioned that Tom Aspinall could end up facing the same legacy, Dilemma being remembered as a champion who held the belt, but never defeated the man widely regarded as the true title holder. There's historical weight behind that concern. When Francis Ngannou left the UFC and vacated the heavyweight title, Jon Jones claimed the crown by defeating Cyril Gane. To this day, some argue that Ngannou remains the true lineal champion now. With Jones vacating his belt and Aspinall being elevated, the championship lineage is even more fragmented. For Aspinall, a fight and victory against Jones would tie those loose ends together, restoring continuity to the division and giving him the kind of definitive closure every champion craves in their
UFC, isn't he? But he's only like he hasn't fought anyone. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. You know, I think Jon gets a lot of money being champion. I think the sponsors and that are paying him a fortune, and I think he's just dragging along, keeping the belt as long as possible because it's worth that much money to him. I mean, Jon's often struggled. Tall people who are good boxers. I imagine he probably, if he did fight him,
UFC commentator Jon Anik also shared his perspective on the potential timeline and location of the Jon Jones vs. Tom Aspinall fight, predicting that the bout will take place in December 2025 at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Speaking to MMA Junkie, Anik dismissed the idea of Jones returning to Madison Square Garden, noting that he already fought and defeated Stipe Miocic there in November 2024. For Anik, Las Vegas is the logical choice, citing its legacy as the fight capital of the world, favorable tax conditions, and overall fighter preference. His prediction aligns with Dana White's ongoing hints that the UFC is actively working on the Jones-Aspinall matchup for 2025 as well ahead of the White House card in 2026. This suggests that the organization may be planning not just one but two blockbuster returns for Jones. First, a unification bout with Aspinall, followed by a historic appearance on the White House lawn as the centerpiece of America's 250th birthday celebration. If that plan holds, Jones will have gone from retirement to back-to-back high-stakes fights within a single year, an epic chapter in a legendary career. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more updates. Thank you.